You're going to just announce when he's here?
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Commissioners Board meeting. Today, both Mary Ann Borgeson and PJ Morgan are not present at today's meeting, so I will be running the meeting. So, I know. Good for us. So, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the north wall of the Legislative Chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We will begin with the Douglas County Center Board of Trustees, and I'm going to hand this over to Commissioner Claire Duda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ellen is sitting in place of Burl this morning for this meeting. Would you please call the roll?
Trustee Borgeson, Trustee Boyle, here. Trustee Kraft, here. Trustee Morgan, Trustee Rogers, Trustee Tusha, Chair Duda.
Present. Thank you. The first thing on the agenda is the Community Mental Health Center and its director, Sherry Glassnap. Sherry? This will be a very short meeting. This is to make up for the fact that we did not have a quorum at our Board of Trustees meeting 2 weeks ago, and therefore we have a few legal things to go through, but this won't be as extensive of a meeting as we had at the Health Center. Good morning, Sherry.
Good morning. I promise I will keep it short this morning for you. The first thing that we have this morning is discussion action items, recommendation for reappointment of Dr. Oja and Dr. John Marcus. So we're requesting that the board approve that the reappointment is forwarded to the Board of Commissioners for final vote and approval.
And that will then be on the Commissioner's agenda later this morning.
Yes, sir.
So it would be appropriate for this board to recommend the appointment of these doctors. What is the pleasure of the board?
Second.
Motion and a second to recommend these appointments. I want to call you Burl, but Ellen, would you please call the vote?
Trustee Borgeson, Trustee Boyle, yes. Trustee Kraft, yes. Trustee Morgan, Trustee Rogers, Trustee Tusha,
yes.
Chair Duda.
Yes. Thank you. Is there anything else?
No, we have a discussion regarding the proposed Community Mental Health Center animal policy and procedure.
Yes. Thank you. This is something we've been talking about for a while. We've had a request from somebody who is interested in knowing what we intend to do if somebody comes in with a service dog or a companion dog, an appropriate request, and we finally are to the point of having this in draft form that we can share with the public. There is no action scheduled yet. I mean, it'll probably be in a couple of weeks, but this is the draft that people can talk about, give us their ideas on, and in a couple of weeks we will take action on that if we are ready. So this is for discussion only today. If somebody from the public wants to see this draft, how would they?
It is posted, and then also if there is a request, I will gladly provide that information to them directly.
Okay.
Via mail, or they can pick it up at the front desk as well, but it is also posted on the website.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Well, Mr. Kimber, if you wish to discuss the draft, as I say, we're not taking action yet. That will be soon, but this is the opportunity for us to make changes in it as well. So if you have any input you would like to be sharing.
I have a few questions for Sherry.
We are discussing the animal policy right now. If you have any comments or.
I just got a question to find out.
You need to be up here to speak, Mr. Kimber. We can't hear you on the microphone otherwise. So we are at the agenda on the animal policy and procedure. Good morning, Mr. Kimber.
Morning. The situation I have a question about is if a person has to go inpatient, what is going to be the staff's responsibility if this individual notifies a staff member that an individual, like another patient, if I have already told them, hey, this is my service dog, please don't mess with it, and it has to be done repeatedly, what is the staff's response going to be if I have to go back to this individual again on multiple times saying this? what's going to happen?
Well, that's a lot of hypotheticals to try to envision. And I don't honestly know the answer to that right off. I mean, I have read the draft policy
Right.
that we're discussing this morning. It doesn't particularly reference ongoing issues with another patient, as far as I didn't pick that up.
Okay, in section 4, paragraph G, it says the CMH patient will be escorted by the employees of the courtyard during appropriate scheduled times. Now, with my service dog, I never have to know when he has to go out. There is no set schedule. How is that going to be implemented? If he has to go out, let's say at 10:30 at night for the final time of the night.
I don't know the answer to that. These are the points that we will have to get fine-tuned and be comfortable with before we take action. I don't know the answer to that right off, but I'll try to get you that answer.
Okay. And also, while I'm bringing this matter before the commission, I have on multiple occasions asked Teresa for a copy of the opinion between herself and the Douglas County Sheriff's Department regarding my service dog. And she has told me, and I repeat multiple times, that since it is a attorney-client privilege, I would not be allowed to have that. I have to have that for my records. So if there is any problems when I do go out to the sheriff's office, that I can show it to the deputy or whoever that I see that I do have permission to bring my service dog, to bring Omar out there when I go out to register.
What you're after here is something saying it's okay for your dog to be with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A good question, and again, I will try to get you an answer to that.
Okay.
So, I believe Trustee Boyle has a question or comment.
Good morning. I was going to add that your question is very good, and I think Chair Duda has handled responses very well. But there will be an opportunity for you to discuss this. There'll be a public hearing.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
And so you'll have an opportunity to talk about this. But you raised some really important issues. I mean, maybe something as simple as some kind of an ID card that's issued by Douglas County. So you just show the ID card showing that you're able to take your dog where you need to and so forth. But I think the things you've raised are really good points, and we'll discuss those at a public meeting. So, and
When will this public meeting be?
The first one, I believe, will be in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
I believe at the county board meeting in 2 weeks, isn't? I think that's when we're scheduled to bring this back for consideration. So that would be the first opportunity for us to potentially vote on it, if we're ready to vote on it. But that will be more public discussion, and I'll try to have answers. I have 2 questions I've written down here.
Okay, will I be allowed to bring individuals that are, one individual that I know personally that is trained to deal with people with psychiatric disabilities, that is a former registered nurse, and also 2 state officials that knows me very well as character support?
I'm not sure why you need to support your character. Nobody's
Well,
questioning.
but because these individuals, Melissa Dixon is my HHS worker, and she sees me on a regular basis.
There will be public opportunity for anybody to speak, but nobody needs to defend your character. Your character is
Well,
not
I was
being-
told by Patrick back there that I had to demonstrate to the mental health people that I could take care of Omar, and this was brought up in the last meeting that I was here about this.
Okay.
And these individuals have seen me personally demonstrate that I do take good care of him and everything.
I mean, you're always welcome to bring people down. As I say, I don't think you need anybody to vouch for your character, but if you want somebody to, that's just fine. What we will be taking action on here in 2 weeks is a policy. It's not really all about you. It's all about the health center and what its policies are going to be going forward regarding service dogs and companion dogs. You're more focused on your individual situation, and I get that. I mean, it's only natural. At this juncture, I think what's more important is that we get a policy in place and you be familiar with and comfortable with the policy, Certainly any questions about how it might impact you individually are appropriate, but I don't think you need to bring down a parade of people saying you're a good guy. You don't have to convince us of that.
Now, will this policy be county-wide?
Yes.
So let's...
Well, it's a policy for the facility.
Okay, what about if I have, let's say that I have to go in the hospital, but there is no room at, say, Lasting Hope or Douglas County, and I have to go to another hospital for inpatient?
With apologies, we can't do anything to tell the other hospitals what to do. We can only impact our facility and what its policies are. So
Okay.
I'll hope that we can meet your needs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, this policy is on the website. If anybody from the public watching has any interest in this would be an appropriate time to look into it and let us know before we consider possibly finalizing this within a couple of weeks. We have our director, Mr. Turville, here, although there's nothing really on the agenda for him, unless anybody has any questions for anybody at the health center. We are to the point of adjournment on the agenda, and therefore I will declare this meeting adjourned and turn the meeting back over to Vice Chair Tusha.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Yes. Excuse me. I don't see Jay Noddle, but is there anyone from the Jewish Federation or the Jewish Community Center here? We have a proclamation we're going to read, and we'll move it forward in the agenda. Okay, we'll wait till later.
Well, then we'll wait to the
Yes.
actual
Yes.
artwork. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Good morning. Okay, we will now move to the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Madam Chair.
Here, thank you. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, August 26, 2014. And item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, September 16, 2014 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property.
Second?
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next is citizens' comments. Is there anybody in the chambers that wishes to speak on the Board of Equalization? I see none. Next, we have resolutions D through G. Is there any questions or comments? Commissioner Boyle, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
Just turn my light on.
Okay.
Mr. Goodwillie, is he here? Just thought I saw him. Could you come to the podium for a second? There's a question I have on item D. I just would ask you to...
Item D?
Well, I think so. Let's see. Maybe I'm in the wrong area. I've jumped ahead or something. Let's see. Oh, it's a resolution. I'm sorry. I guess we have to... Are we in that area yet?
Yeah, we're on resolutions.
It's item D.
Okay, well, that's not ours.
Oh, it's not yours?
Dan Ash, Douglas County Clerk's Office. It was a Board of Equalization issue. Essentially what happened was part of the, all the protests aren't filed in our office, and one of the representatives from this property asked to see the referee's documentation. The historical form is what it's called. Basically, it's where they make their decision and make any comments on why they came to the decision they came to. And they didn't actually change the value, but in the comment field, they had said that they calculated the new value to be $1,722,100, but they didn't actually go in and change that value.
Oh.
So I notified Catherine of that, and she got a hold of the referees, and they said that they had meant to change it to the value. So basically, right now, on August 5th, when you guys approved the protest, the value that was approved was $1,836,900, and so today we're asking it to be changed to $1,722,100 because that's what the referees intended to do.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you. I couldn't quite get what was going on. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Second?
Please vote. Does this include in German also?
Includes in German.
That's what I thought you said, yeah.
Thank you.
Are you deaf or something?
Yes, I am. Today I am.
Couldn't hear what they were both thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't hear what we were thinking.
Not with those two together, please.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, next we will move to the Douglas County Board of Corrections. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers, Madam Chair.
Here, thank you. The first one we have is approval of the minutes of the Board of Corrections meeting held Tuesday, August 12, 2014.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Citizens' comments. Is there anybody in the chambers that wishes to speak for the Board of Corrections? I see none. Next, we have a report from the Director of Corrections, Dr. Mark Boxell.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Mark Foxall, Director of Corrections. You have before you the report for August 2014, referring to enclosure number 1, Administrative Services. First state that we're a couple of months into the new fiscal year and we remain under budget. The City of Omaha has been billed through June of 2014. They've paid 90% of their invoices through May of 2014. Their audited invoices have been completed through April of 2014, and they paid audited invoice balances through January of 2014, which puts their balance at approximately $355, $185, $95. Community Corrections, enclosure number 2, 24/7 alcohol sobriety program. At last check, we were up to 28, I believe it is. I know the record reflects 24, but we've added additional individuals. We're up to 28 people on the program, and we have additional individuals waiting to sign on to the program. So our numbers continue to increase as the months go by. It's a program that's working quite well, I would say. And had another meeting recently to expand the program. Those details have not yet been firmed up. I will report on that at my next Board of Corrections report in October. Work release admitted 52 individuals during the previous month, and the clients there donated 1,394 hours of community service at various public and private charitable organizations. House arrest admitted 90 individuals last month, and they contributed 393 hours of community service across their numbers. Renter Assistance Program admitted 20 individuals during the previous month. Community Corrections Program, their in-house programs, so 54 individuals were admitted in-house. That would be in the secure facility. So all of those programs continue to thrive fairly well. Pretrial services, 16 individuals were referred for priority prosecution, saving 302 bed days last month. 212 individuals were placed on pretrial release. 717 individuals were managed on pretrial release with a 94% compliance rate. Compliance. Marshal Service came through our facility last month to conduct their annual inspection. That was August 28th. Representatives of the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services will be on site this month to assist in conducting our security audit inside and the outside perimeter of the facility, and the ACA reaccreditation audit for both facilities, Criminal Justice Center and the secure facility, scheduled for the 27th of October and will run through the 31st. Personnel. New correctional officer recruit class graduated last Friday, Friday, August 15th. They are now on the floors working by themselves. They completed their field officer training program on September 6th, and they've been out since Sunday, and as I said, they're doing well so far. We had a number of promotions in the previous month. We had 2 lieutenants promoted, Leon Valkyr from sergeant to lieutenant, Don Russell Cummings from sergeant to lieutenant, Brian Mulvaney from correctional officer 2 to sergeant, and Heath Liddick from correctional officer 2 to sergeant. We had 2 promotions to correctional officer 2, Gregory Strong and Charles Deedy. So we had a number of different promotions last month, and I anticipate a few more in the next month or 2 as well. Calling to your attention enclosure number 6 with respect to our population. Our population is up. We're over 1,200 during the previous month. We have all but a couple of housing units that are open, and this is our busy time of the month. In fact, it's probably a population I would anticipate go even higher. I did also see our female population continues to increase. In fact, we had 4 female housing units open at one point last month, and our female population hit approximately 175. It's getting close to 180. Typically, we run about 10% female, but our female population is very, very high right now, and we've had to move some housing units around to accommodate the rising number of females in custody. Our total admissions last month, 1,612. Releases, 1,550, so those numbers are up. Our ADP, our average daily population, is 1,138. The U.S. Marshal population did decrease. ICE population did decrease. Felony pretrial population decreased. Misdemeanor pretrial population did increase. Enclosure number 7 with respect to medical, intake screenings are up 1,341. H&Ps, our health and physical assessments, 549. Our discharge referrals, 355. That discharge referral program is, as I've said in the past, is very important to us because that's how we connect people on the outside post-release, hoping to diminish the likelihood that they'll return or to our facility or have some type of healthcare issue on the outside. So that's something that we take healthcare issue or other related issues, as we do discharge referrals for a lot of different things across a broad spectrum. So I'm really pleased to see that number at 355. Mental health, we had initial psych assessments at 62, initial mental health assessments at 305, and mental health infirmary placements 47. So that also impacts our operations, as I've been telling you for months now.
Commissioner Boyle.
Yes. Dr. Foxall, I'd like to go back to the female population, if you could. And it's gone up. And I'd like to have you, if you can, talk a little bit about what the charges are, if there, if there's alcohol and drug problems involved that makes them commit crimes that gets them where they are. Big question. Whether they're homeless, if there's domestic violence. If there are children involved, what's a kind of a grand picture of who these individuals are, why they're there?
You know, this is part of a growing trend nationally. The increase in female populations across the country has been rising for a number of different years, and they see it more involvement or more confinement for offenses related to violence and drug possession charges. And I had staff run a snapshot of what we had confined approximately a week and a half ago. Drug possession charges, we saw fraud, and some assault charges as well. Mm-hmm.
So it's not prostitution or something like that, it's violent crimes?
You know, in the past, when we've seen a spike in our female population, prostitution has been one of the driving forces for that, but not this time.
Wow. Okay.
So I was looking for that. I anticipated that, but I was wrong, and we're seeing it in other offense violations.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that further. Appreciate that snapshot. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Duda.
Thanks. Continuing on that same line, you said the female population is at about 130 right now?
No, approximately 175.
175 with 4 mods open for them?
We did open 4 housing units. We had to arrange some of our housing units to consolidate, and we now have 3 large female housing units assigned.
How does this compare with our historically? What kind of? I mean, have we ever had this many women in the jail before?
Approximately 4 or 5 years ago. I thought this was record numbers, and I still think we're record numbers. I don't recall having 4 housing units open at the same time, but then recall at one time we were putting the boats on the floor. The women were sleeping on the floor.
Sure.
So we've gotten away from that policy, and since we already had housing unit H, which is a smaller housing unit, open, that was the overflow from the 2 big housing units, 11 and 12. But then when the numbers continued to rise, we had to open up a 3rd big housing unit, 62-bed housing unit, so to accommodate all of that population. So it's been probably about 5 years ago. We've been close, but I think these numbers are in record range right now.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, are you seeing any results from the mental health screening and placement yet? It's the relatively new program we put in.
I haven't done an assessment on that yet.
Is it still too new?
Still a little bit too new.
Okay.
You know what, would probably have a better idea of the results of that program as we move into some of the cooler months.
Okay. And in the reentry assistance program, the client goal attainment summary for clients discharged in current month: decreased level of criminal thinking and improved decision-making skills. No progress 6, partially achieved 5, and achieved 11. So it's about half and half if you consider partially achieved not a success. Is there something we can do to improve those results? I don't know, how you're arriving at these numbers, but is there anything that can be done to improve the results so we have progress in decreasing the level of criminal thinking?
Sure, Mike Myers is here. I'm going to have him come down and speak to that.
Good morning, Commissioners. Michael Myers, the Community Corrections Manager for the Department of Corrections. Commissioner Kraft, we overhauled how we do programming in the reentry assistance program as well as the jail this past December to really front load cognitive programming designed to accomplish just that purpose. We've that overhaul has had a lot of intended positive consequences and some things that we need to take a second look at in terms of just getting people in multiple places at the same time. These changes were made with the recommendations from the National Reentry Resource Center. We will soon, our web-based case management application should be up and running within a matter of a few weeks. We'll have the ability to break down data much more in a much more sophisticated manner than what we are able to report to you now. But we'll continue to attempt to refine how this programming is delivered and how our processes are measured. Right now it's a pre and post test, and there are times where we just get the pre-test done. All of the post-assessment, post-programming assessments are done after the programming phase is complete. And there are sometimes we just don't have people. Some of that no progress is people who have left the program for one reason or another before we were able to complete that post-test to see whether we've made progress or not. The new system will allow us to track the dosage that each person's getting. So we have about, right now, I would say about 130 or so hours, maybe a little bit more than that now, of cognitive programming designed to impact how people think, which is a huge step forward from where we used to be a year ago at this time.
Good.
And our ability we'll be able to say how much each individual person has had. Like maybe some people will have been released when they've gotten 90 of those hours. And we can then take a look at how can we measure if we have a warning for how many, if sometimes people get released, they get time served, and we don't really have an opportunity to administer a post-assessment. But if we have a warning that somebody's getting out, we can then do an assessment to measure the impact that 90 hours had, whereas right now we're only doing that post-assessment after all of the programming has been administered, and unfortunately not everybody is with us long enough to receive it all.
Then, years ago when I had my store, I used to hire people who were on parole and on probation and had mental health problems, former drug users and things like that, just to because it's hard to get in a job, and I was willing to take those extra responsibilities. And I had a young lady working for me who used to knit, and I asked her how she learned to knit and why she knitted so often. She said, as a former drug user, whenever I have the urge, this occupies my time and my mind. Do we teach knitting or crocheting?
We do not. And that particular hobby may present, if you,
Oh,
some
yes, it
security
would,
stuff.
yeah. Okay.
But,
I wasn't thinking
one of
of
the things
the,
we have talked about on an ongoing basis, and it's from a reentry perspective, a legitimate topic is recreation and leisure, how people spend their time. It is one of the recognized risk factors in recidivism. It's not been something that I feel that we've completely gotten a handle on how we can do that and still function as a jail, as a corrections agency, and do that in a meaningful way. But we have, there are things that steps that we're taking. For instance, there are yoga classes that are beginning in the jail. We'll be expanding those to community corrections. Doing other types of things like that to expose people to healthy leisure activities, to try and replace some of those, on a weekend or what, the problematic behaviors of that fueled their addictions prior to coming with us.
And in the courses we offer for people who are incarcerated, I notice there are a number that seem to consistently have no attendees. Have we reassessed those particular programs and seen whether...
Those may be classes that, I'll have to look at the report to see which ones you're referencing. Maybe I can visit with you separately about that. But there are some classes that as we have changed over, there may be some things that we just need to take out of the report template because they're no longer currently offered.
Very good. I have no other questions at the moment.
Thank you. Gotcha. You thought I had questions, which I do, but I didn't. Just one.
No. Before that question, if I could go back and add a little clarification to the female population numbers. I was checking some data that I had, and the most recent period when our female population was high was 2009. It's approximately 5 years ago. But preceding that, in 2004, we were at numbers with our female population where we're at now. So back to 2004 was approximately the time when we had numbers resembling what our female count is today. So, but I think the demographic of insofar as the type of offender coming in and types of charges are coming in with, this is much different in 2004 than 2014, 10 years later.
Thank you.
Thank you for that historical perspective.
On the female population, I know you said that you combine two smaller units to make a 62-bed unit. Is that the max for a unit, is 62 beds?
Yes.
Okay. So
it's a big unit.
If this increases, we will still have to then reopen up another unit.
No, we got 362, 64 bed units open now for females, so that should address that issue unless our numbers continue to creep. But they're holding steady and declining just a little bit, so we haven't seen much past 175, 176.
Okay, cool. All right, and then back to, first of all, congratulations to your new recruit of correctional officers. How many did you have graduate?
16.
16?
9 women.
Pardon me?
9 women.
Wow, that's sweet. Yeah, don't mess with a woman.
That's important.
Also, now I'm sure you're already looking for another recruitment. When did you say that was going to happen? In the fall?
We'll probably start another class in October.
October?
And we've got posting for, applications are open presently.
And what happens, I mean, this is a far-fetched one. Right now, you're pretty well close on your, on the positions, on the staffing. What happens if it goes over? Do you have it in your budget to be able to take care of those that go over?
Well, recall that we lose 2.5 a month, so we typically go into overhire mode so that we're not chasing that number, so we'll overhire.
So you'll
we'll
probably-
trim down to what our staffing levels are pursuant to the budget.
So you'll probably break out even come the
Yes.
next next, cool, okay. And then promotions. Congratulations to everybody who received promotions. I'm sure that's well deserved, so congratulations to all of them. I talked about your staffing. I won't get on your case too much today about the overtime. I know it has increased, but I understand because of the population that has increased. But hopefully with your new recruits, that'll be able to hopefully bring that down a little bit, so.
And I checked the numbers this morning, and those numbers are down. The order overtime number is down. It's not eliminated, but it is down. And with the next class coming on, that will further reduce those numbers. And then as we move into the cooler months and we begin to close down housing units because our population has begun to decline, that will further impact our overtime.
Good to hear that. Also, congratulations to you and Mike and all the staff who worked on this for the 24/7 program. I see that you got fully funded operations through September of 2015, and I think that's fantastic. I know you guys were working on that, so I'm excited about that. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And that's all I have for today. Any other questions? Commissioner Kraft.
Yes. I believe it was your department that talked about buying a couple body cams to experiment with to see if that would reduce some of the complaints you were getting, or was that the sheriff's department?
Well, I know the sheriff was experimenting with him, and Captain Hudson is here, but I won't call him out. But we have some.
You do. How are they
We've had
working?
some for several months now, and I think the body cameras have worked out well for us. The earlier versions we weren't happy with. We went to a different version several months ago, and we're happy with those cameras.
And do you recall the cost per camera, or approximate cost?
They vary depending on the sophistication of the technology.
Okay.
And I think 500 plus, something like that.
Okay. But they're proving useful.
Yes, they are.
Very good. Thank you. No other questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We will now move to the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Boyle, Commissioner Duda, Commissioner Kraft, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Rogers. Madam Chair.
Here, thank you. Minutes and claims. First one, item A, approval of minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting set Tuesday, August 26, 2014. Item B, approval of claims submitted for payment process through Tuesday, September 9, 2014. Complete listing is on file in the office of the County Clerk Comptroller and available on the Douglas County Clerk Comptroller's webpage. Motion to approve.
Move the approval of items 1A and B.
Second.
Any questions or comments? I see none. Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Before we move to the consent agenda, I would like to move one item up from a recognition, and I will need a motion to suspend the rules and add a resolution. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Point of information, do you need to declare an emergency?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry. So we need to declare an emergency first?
That's part of it.
Oh, that's part of it, okay.
Yes.
So
And I will
declare a
include that in.
motion.
I will ask for an emergency declaration and an item to move things on the agenda for a
Second.
resolution.
All right, thank you. Please vote.
Just a moment, please. Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you. Now we have a resolution, and I will forward this over to Commissioner Mark Kraft.
Yes, Jay Noddle, would you come to the front, please? There was a very nice article in yesterday's newspaper that prompted Commissioner Boyle to do some thinking.
Oh, my gosh.
I realize this might be the first time in 4 or 5 years, but he actually did. And he requested we have a resolution. And be it resolved that whereas, according to the Omaha World Herald columnist Michael Kelly's article from September 8, 2014, Omaha is home to a vital Jewish community totaling nearly 5,500 members, and whereas Omaha's Jewish community took shape in the mid-1800s with a variety of Jewish immigrants from an array of backgrounds sought to creating their livelihoods here, and found the area welcoming and in need of new businesses for a rapidly growing city. And whereas among those of Jewish faith who put down roots in Douglas County included the well-known families of Blumkin, Nebraska Furniture Mart, Rosenblatt, former Rosenblatt Baseball Stadium, Friedman, Borsheim's Jewelry, Monsky, contributor to the founding of Boys Town and the AZA organizations, Simon, Omaha Steaks, and so many others. And whereas, although a small number and not without struggle and sacrifice, although small in number and not without struggle and sacrifice, Omaha's Jewish community has ultimately contributed greatly to our culture, helping to frame the landscape of the metro area over time. And whereas for more than 30 years, the nonprofit Nebraska Jewish Historical Society, also known as NJHS, has documented the activities of members in an effort to preserve the history of Jewish families in Nebraska by cataloging materials depicting Jewish history and by coordinating annual conferences, community programs, and informational exhibits, issuing publications, fostering research, and by promoting Judaic educational and cultural studies. And whereas during this month of September, which also contains the holy days of Rosh Hashanah and the Jewish New Year, and the National NJHS, the Jewish Federation of Omaha, and the entire Jewish community joined together to host the first Omaha Jewish reunion to be held September 12th to the 14th. And whereas this Board of County Commissioners recognizes and commemorates the many contributions of the Omaha Douglas Jewish community and reflect upon the struggle of those of Jewish faith who have helped shape Douglas County into a modern and vibrant community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that this board hereby recognizes and commemorates the many contributions of the Nebraska Jewish Historical Society, the Jewish Federation of Omaha, and all members of the Jewish community residing in Douglas County, and urges residents to take part in celebrating Judaic culture and heritage throughout September. Dated this 9th day of September 2014.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Please vote.
And Jay, if you'd like to say a few words.
Well,
Passes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good morning. It's an honor to be here this morning. I didn't expect this, and it's very, very thoughtful and nice of you to recognize the community that I'm a part of, and as a member of the broader community as well. I'm here this morning as a humble representative and as the president of the Jewish Federation of Omaha. And actually our numbers are a little larger. We're about 6,500 people and as members of our community and working day in and day out with members of the Lincoln community as well. We're very proud of our heritage. We're very proud of Nebraska. We're very proud of Douglas County and Omaha. It's been fabulous to be a part of such a wonderful place. We look forward to continuing to be part of such a wonderful place and to work alongside of folks such as yourselves and the staff and everyone in this room. So thank you very much. We're expecting people from all over the country this weekend. This is something that hasn't been done in Omaha before, this reunion, and to our knowledge, it hasn't been done anywhere in the country before. So there's a lot of people that spent part of their youth or even their adult life here in eastern Nebraska that live elsewhere, and they're going to be back, and they're going to see one heck of a city and as you know, and it'll be fun. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyle.
Well, Jay, I'm really glad you came this morning, and when I read that article, it really piqued my interest. I just thought that this is something that we need to officially recognize as the contribution of the Jewish community to our city. It's been all positive. And I'm so old, I worked with your dad, you know, so I know the Noddle Company pretty well and how progressive it is and how considerate it is of when you build things, they fit in the environment. It's really a pleasure seeing the things that you've done and you're still doing for our community. It's kind of interesting that Omaha is really a diverse city, and we're so fortunate because of it. And you're a very important, your community is a very, very important part of it. It was kind of interesting because I'm 100% Irish, and the chair of the county board is Bohemian. And
Yes, I am. Thank you.
There are a couple of Bohemians there, but anyhow, when they admit it. No, I'm just kidding. And then we had a Cuban write the resolution. So this is a really great community. We work together, and I am fortunate to have had two Jewish mothers in my career, my life. One was Marty Schuchert's mother, who took very good care of me and just kind of watched me. It was really nice. And Mark Delman's mother, Molly. And it's really more than just having a Jewish mother. They really watched out for me. It was amazing, the contact they made. So I don't mean to ramble on, but I just want to tell you this means a lot to me personally. So congratulations. And really looking forward to some of the great events. I know it'll be spectacular.
Well, thank you very much.
Come on by and shake our hands.
Oh, just a second, Mike, we have
we got a vote? Oh, we got a
No,
vote?
We voted, but
We got Commissioner Duda.
Excuse me.
I too appreciate, I mean, the contributions of the Jewish community to Omaha's development and history are so intertwined and so important and significant. I think it's great that we have the opportunity to recognize this, and the reunion you got coming up this weekend just sounds like such a great idea, so neat. Mike Kelly's column was very nice in yesterday's paper. Anytime you start listing people, there are people you're not going to, I mean, he talked about our beloved mayors of Rosenblatt and Zorinsky. He didn't mention Leo Kraft and Sylvia Wagner, a great friend of the health center. I mean, we've had so many good Jewish leaders in our community that it's wonderful to take this opportunity to point them out. So thanks for all you've done and have fun this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
Yes, and this means a lot to me personally also. Mike read the morning paper. I had not seen the article till the evening paper around 9 o'clock last night, and I'm very pleased we have this resolution before us. As a member of the Jewish community, I'm a proud Jew. I'm glad to see this taking place. And as it was noted in the newspaper article, is through difficulties presented to the Jewish community. We couldn't work in the banking industry. We couldn't work in other fields. They wouldn't hire us. My uncle became a tailor because he couldn't find a job because he was Jewish. Uncle Isidore became started a collection agency because he couldn't work in the banking industry. And many of our achievements were started because of the stepping stones or the blockades set before us. And you know, so having something block you never stopped us. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't stop anybody, so long as what they're doing is legitimate and good for the community. And Jay, thank you.
Thank you. Jay, real quick, by the way, thank you for coming forward in front of the board today. Totally appreciate this, and this resolution is awesome. Real quick, though, I know you had the reunion to be held September 12th and through the 14th. Now, for people who are not aware of this, or maybe just a little bit of hearsay, or who haven't read the paper, can you give a little bit of information on that, please?
I'll do my best. It would be most helpful if I could call one of my, as a member of the Jewish Federation, I can call any one of 3,700 Jewish mothers. And don't give me the details. But what I do know is that people will start to arrive on Thursday, and there are all kinds of events, from just welcome home, get-together events, coffees, teas, always a meal, to tours of the city. Believe it or not, they had a list on their website of maybe 60 different things you could sign up for that someone might be interested in, and the tours of the city were one of the very most popular. So there's all kinds of tours. There's volunteers leading tours that are more architectural based or new development based. There's some that are art based. There's some that are business based. They'll go to all the museums and visit the parks. And, you know, for the people that haven't been here in a long time, as we all know, the city has changed so much, and it's such a spectacular place that everybody in this room has contributed to. There's a lot to see. And for those that have gone off to other places and haven't been here, there's quite a lot of discovery. And so we're looking forward to that. And I imagine that about 9:30 on Saturday night, there'll be a pretty good group wearing red gathered somewhere watching a certain football game. And, you know, that doesn't leave you once you leave Nebraska either. So it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you all again very much. For me, it's...
Please come forward, shake our hands,
Okay.
and accept your resolution.
How are you? Good to see you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you for letting me move that up a little bit. Next, we have the consent agenda. Currently, there is A through L, a total of 12, but I am going to pull out A1, which is the interlocal agreement with Papio Missouri River Natural Resource District for Douglas County Project Dam Site near 168 and 4th Street. I'm going to pull that out so we can vote on that separately. So currently, we have A through L, less A1. Teresa, did you have a comment?
Yes, Teresa. I will just speak very loudly. I just received a communication from Mark LaFleur at the Douglas County Youth Center, and he asked that we lay over item K. It's the OPS Title I program. He says that the funding numbers might be adjusted slightly.
Okay.
So if I may ask the board to lay that over until next week, please.
All right, not a problem. Thank you, Teresa. So now we have A through L, less A1 and less K. Any other questions or comments?
Move approval of the consent agenda, less A1 and K.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, item K is being laid over until the next week's meeting. So on item A1, the interlocal agreement with the NRD, I would like to have a motion to lay this over until October 6th.
So, second.
Please vote.
Just a moment, please.
Thank you.
Okay. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have another recognition and a sympathy resolution to the family of Deborah K. Powell. And I'm going to give this to Commissioner Mike Boyle.
Thank you very much. I especially appreciate the county taking time to recognize a city employee. She was really terrific. Let me read the resolution. Whereas it was with great sadness that the Douglas County Board of Commissioners learned of the death of retired City of Omaha employee and civil rights advocate Deborah K. Powell on August 19, 2014 at the age of 61. And whereas Deborah is survived by her son Richard, daughter Latoya, 5 grandchildren, and by 1 great-granddaughter. And whereas Deborah was raised in Omaha and graduated from Omaha North High School, then went on to obtain a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice from the University of Nebraska at Omaha. And whereas Deborah believed in pursuing a public service career and was hired by former Omaha Mayor Michael Boyle in the 1980s as an administrative assistant, and later became a civil rights investigator with the city's Human Relations Department, where she remained for nearly 25 years until retiring in 2007. And whereas Deborah frequently served on boards in furtherance of her civil rights advocacy, some of which included the National Association of Neighborhoods Board of Directors, Legal Aid Society, Wesley House, North Omaha Community Development Association, and My Sister's Keeper, Omaha. And whereas outside of work, Deborah valued spending time with her family the most, especially her children and grandchildren. Deborah also was also an active member of the Salem Baptist Church located in North Omaha. And whereas this board recognizes that her passing has caused great sadness to her family and friends, now therefore be it resolved by this Board of County Commissioners, Douglas County, Nebraska, that this board and the residents of Douglas County hereby commemorate the decades of public service contributed by Deborah Powell to her community, and does hereby extend the board's sincerest sympathy to her family and friends, dated this September 9th, 2014.
Motion approved.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Also, I'd just like to take a moment to, Thursday, September 11th is, of course, as we all know it, the 9/11 9/11 incident that hurt and terrorized so many people, emotionally and physically. And I would just like to take a moment of silence for all the family and friends and anybody who was affected through this. Thank you, everyone.
Next we have
I'm sorry, I shut off my microphone. See, there you go. That's the bow hunk. Next, we have citizens' comments. Is there anybody in the chambers that wish to speak of the Board of Commissioners that's not on the agenda? Come on down. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning. My name is Jerry Smith, and I represent the Eastern Nebraska Forensic Lab. Might actually be too late now. I didn't realize how this exactly worked, but as what I'm specifically going to speak to is item J that you guys just approved there. I'm a forensic chemist and co-owner of the Eastern Nebraska Forensic Lab. Last Wednesday, it was brought to my attention by Captain Newman of the Omaha Police Department that as of January 1st, all controlled substance testing would be taken to the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. I was told that they have been very happy with our services, that this was a political push to consolidate lab services, and this was just one of the steps. I've been a forensic chemist for 18 years. Christy Reason, who co-owns the lab, has been a forensic chemist for 16 years now. We have testified as expert witnesses in federal cases and in state courts in Nebraska, Iowa, Florida, and South Dakota. Our lab tests controlled substances, blood alcohols, and urine tests for law enforcement and for defense attorneys in Nebraska, Iowa, and South Dakota. Since we are a private lab, it is normally brought up in court that there is no bias towards the prosecution or the defense. In the past 12 months, we have billed the Omaha Police Department $96,065, which is almost $40,000 less than the $135,000 proposed to pay Douglas County for testing. Douglas County does not test urine drugs, so they will have to be outsourced and an additional cost to taxpayers. Our lab provides outstanding services which go way beyond the $30 per item tested that we charge. This includes pickup and delivery of all items, including urine, blood, and controlled substances. Sometimes we're down at the Omaha Police Department 5 days a week, sometimes multiple times a day if needed. We test trash pull items with same-day service and sometimes while an officer waits so the officers can get warrants signed. We store blood and urine for 2 years and then destroy them through a biohazard service provider at no additional charge to the taxpayers. We test for purity on items at no additional charge. The State Patrol Crime Lab has a 6-month training period for chemists before they can even work on a case. Right now, we are less than 4 months away from the January 1st deadline, and as far as I know, no one has been hired to start this training process. I don't believe this plan has been thoroughly thought out, and I would ask you to consider all the extras our lab provides for $40,000 less, and I would also ask you to consider the fact that there will be no lab to fall back on when this doesn't work, as this will put the Eastern Nebraska Forensic Lab out of business as of January 1st.
Commissioner Boyle.
First of all, I appreciate your coming down. Excuse me. And I have been the one that's been pushing so much for these two bodies to work together. And this is the first time that anyone has stepped forward, and no one, I'm disappointed, no one in the crime labs of either the city or the county told me of your involvement as a private company. I've got some questions. Are there other individuals such as yourself who provide services for either the city or the county in crime lab work?
No, there are not.
Okay. Were you involved or even notified of any of the talks that were going on about this sort of merger?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you do these services primarily for the city of Omaha?
City of Omaha, Sarpy County Sheriff's Office, Bellevue Police Department, the Southwest Iowa Narcotics Unit, Ralston Police Department, some of the Nebraska State Patrol, and we work with other police agencies that send stuff in when they need rushes when the state lab cannot get to them quick enough.
Okay, if I understood you correctly, this arrangement that's been heralded, will it eliminate you from the picture?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Well, I think I'll speak for myself. This is a surprise. And I think it's something that we ought to ask the city and the county to consider. I don't know if this, excuse me, negates the need to hire 2 more people. Does it? Do you think that it does? If your services were used where they had to hire 2 more people at the county?
No, they would not.
Okay. Well, this is a big deal because we've gone round and round with the sheriff about the benefits, what it costs. And I wish Commissioner Borgeson were here because I think there'd be a hole in the ceiling because I think she would have gone straight up. I'd like to see us work with this gentleman and try to figure out if there isn't something we can do to modify what's happening, at least talk to both bodies and say we have a gentleman who provides these services and should be involved, I think. At least we ought to be talking to him. That's my feeling. So I guess what I'd like to do is, I guess we just approved it. The city council is going to do the same thing this afternoon. But I think there's time to go in and alter things before everything kicks in. But so I intend to pursue this, and I'd like to get all your information about your name, the name of your company, and so forth. I didn't get it all when you stepped up. But I think I am a firm believer in using private industry. I lost a vote last week on where the laundry goes because we're using the penitentiary for laundry as opposed to a private company like you that pays taxes. So anyway, I'll do my best to put your case before the people who are going to make this decision after it's made and try to get it amended.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft.
The city council has a pre-council meeting that starts at 10 o'clock, is it? I would suggest that you go down there, and this is when they give the public a chance to speak first, and then you can again speak when it comes up. The city council, I don't believe do they use a consent agenda anymore?
They use consent, but your best bet is to walk over there.
Yeah, right now.
It's right down the hall.
And tell them you want somebody to pull it. The $40,000 difference also contains additional services.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that we'll be getting from the Douglas County Sheriff. And this, as having been a small businessman, I too am sympathetic with small businesses. This essentially could put you out of business.
It will.
And
That's ridiculous.
I have a lot of agreement with Commissioner Boyle, but I've been one who's been pushing to consolidate the 2 labs, and the community seems to not understand all the repercussions. So the community has been pushing us also. Everybody says your taxes are too high, and if you can save us money, save every penny you can. But the whole world is a balance sheet. You take away here and it goes here. You know, you add here, it takes away something there. And this is part of the balance sheet equation. So I'm going to have to give some serious consideration to this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rogers, just a second. No.
The longer you're here, you should get out of here right away.
Okay. I'm going to just take 2 seconds, though. After you're through over there, you might either come back here or into the commissioner's office and connect with Commissioner Boyle, so that way you guys can compare, you know, give him your information.
Okay.
So we can go ahead and from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Don't leave yet.
Commissioner Boyle?
Yes, I do have the information. The clerk gave it to me, so I've got Jerry Smith with East Nebraska Forensics Lab, but I'll need more information, so if you stick around, well, you probably ought to go to that now.
I'll come back.
Okay, good deal. One thing I wanted to mention is that I don't know if the mood of the board is such that we could, I would make a motion to reconsider the approval and lay it over for 1 week at a minimum, maybe 2 weeks, to reconsider the vote we just made so that we can have some conversation with him before this is a
I will
done deal.
second that, but I suggest while we're voting, you take off.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Yes. Claire?
Commissioner Duda?
Thank you. Can we do that? Don't we have to wait a week to put it back on the agenda for reconsideration?
Commissioners, I believe you can go ahead and do that today if you would like.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So we have a motion that was on the consent agenda. It was item J, approve a shared services agreement between the City of Omaha and Douglas County for crime lab work and crime scene investigation services. So you want to go ahead and hold this and then...
Vote to reconsider it.
Vote, okay, okay. A vote to reconsider and have this
And then we
layover
have-
for...
I think what the procedure, Mr. Kavanaugh?
Okay,
A vote to reconsider first. And
okay. Do I have a vote to reconsider?
Right. Motion and a
reconsider
second.
item
J.
J.
on the consent.
So we have
No,
Commissioner
is
Boyle.
it J? Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Boyle, and then Commissioner Kraft seconded. Please vote.
Could I speak to the reason why I think we ought to do this? First of all, I mean, if I could, I think Commissioner Borgeson would be very interested in this, and as well as Commissioner Morgan, and I think it doesn't cause a fatal delay, so I hope we will lay this over.
Commissioner Duda, before we vote. No?
Well, I'm not going to be voting for this. I don't have big heartburn over it, but anytime you make a change, there's going to be people impacted, and to find out that there's a business impacted by this, to me, that's not a deal breaker. It's going to be impossible to move forward without impacting somebody. So, thank you.
Okay.
All right, please vote for the reconsideration.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to lay this over for 2 weeks. Excuse me, item J, the shared services agreement.
Second.
All right, Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah, I just want to know that reconsidering it, I don't know if this changes. I wasn't personally all out pushing for it, but I do sympathize with the guy and think he thinks he should have a chance to fight for his business. I don't know where it goes in the long run, but I just want that for the record.
Thank you. Hitting the wrong buttons here. Commissioner Duda. I had you.
Thanks. In various ways, every one of us has been pushing for more joint cooperation between the crime labs, one way or another. And now we tasked the county attorney to help the sheriff with coming up with something. They have, but now we find out that it might impact somebody else. I fear we're going to drag this thing out forever because we can't find a perfect solution. And I think people have done what we asked them to do, and we should then be willing to move forward with them after they do what we asked. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Boyle.
Well, I really understand what Commissioner Duda is saying, and I agree. I mean, I think the vote was 6-1 to go down to Lincoln and try to get these forcefully merged, and Sheriff Dunning actually thanked me a couple of months ago and said, it actually got things moving, which he said, do you want the legislature to do this, or should we do this ourselves? So I am a huge advocate of merging these. This agreement doesn't go nearly far enough for me. But I am surprised to find out that we have a man in private business whose business will shut down because of this. And I think that's a serious situation. We should respect, his right to a livelihood. He had no opportunity to participate. Maybe that's something, why would he be noticing what government's doing? That it's just kind of one of those things. So I think he ought to have a chance to talk to the city and the county people and see if we can't figure out a way to include him in the process. That's my goal. If it doesn't happen, I'll still support this.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft.
Going back to the resolution we read earlier about the Jewish community in Omaha, through adversity sometimes comes great opportunities. And the county is intending to hire 2 chemists, as I understand. And the gentleman mentioned he and his partner were chemists. So perhaps there is an opportunity there. But, for all I know, the sheriff, since it's his discretion, may have already decided who he wants to hire. And it may not be these 2 people. But I do think it needs reconsideration and some thought.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to lay...
Madam Chair, may I ask legal counsel a question?
Yes, please.
Okay. The board's motion is to reconsider or to lay over for 2 weeks item J. Item J was just approved on the consent. Does the motion have to clarify the action that the board has already approved, item J? If they reconsider an approved item in 2 weeks, is the item approved for the next 2 weeks, is my question.
Teresa?
Teresa here. My mic is not working, so again, I will just speak very loudly. It's an interesting question, Mr. Kavanaugh, and I think it is, if they are doing a motion to reconsider it, I don't think it is approved for the next 2 weeks. But I can go ahead and check into that in the interim, but I don't think that it is. But I am not positive. It is a new question for me.
Thank you.
Okay. So can we vote on this today, or? Okay, so we have a motion to lay over for 2 weeks, item J, from the consent agenda, and the 2 weeks is for September 23rd. Please vote.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
could I ask that we discuss what's supposed to take during this interim 2 weeks? Ask Mr. Bloomingdale what he thinks we ought to be doing and how we're going to be kept apprised of what's taking place. Could I ask Mr. Bloomingdale that question?
Patrick?
Okay. So what I did was I just emailed Commissioner Borgeson, Commissioner Morgan, Marty Bielek, Todd Schmaderer, and Buster Brown, Sheriff Dunning, and Tom Wheeler, and let them know what happened. And I will follow up with them later today to make sure that they've seen the email. And then I will make my services available to them to try to work out whatever the issues are. This was done outside of our purview, so we'll be happy to assist them in any way possible over the next 2 weeks. And then certainly I will follow up with the board after that.
Mr. Bloomingdale, may I? I would ask you to, if you didn't include Don Klein, the county attorney.
I will forward him that email as well.
Okay, and then also, I think what I would like to see is this gentleman having an opportunity to make his case to these individuals. And so that would be an important part of, I think, this layover process.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, no further questions. Next, we have a public hearing. It's the hearing to set the final tax rate for 2014-2015. Joe, would you like to take this, please?
Yes, this is the hearing to set the final tax rates, but we're not going to be able to vote on it today. The final tax rate for Douglas County is set and will remain at 28.059 cents unchanged. But the tax rate for the library was impacted by the annexation. The annexation was effective September 3rd, and it reduced the property values by approximately $100 million in unincorporated Douglas County, and also increased the population of Omaha by over 8,500 people, which impact the tax rate calculation. So the Douglas County Library Fund tax rate changed. It actually went down from the original amount of 3.28 cents to 3.034 cents. So given that change, we ran an amended notice in the Daily Record yesterday, but we need 5 days after that notice runs before action can be taken. So I'm requesting that this public hearing be laid over for a week, at which time we can vote on these final tax rates.
Commissioner Boyle.
Ms. Lorenz, what is the deadline for us to have this done?
September 20th.
Okay. And the other question is, I believe the City Council is considering overriding the mayor's veto of the library funding. Will that have any effect on this figure?
No, what we do is independent of what the city does.
All right. No kidding.
It'll lag by a year. What they do now will impact ours next year.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Okay, currently, even though we are not voting, this is still a public hearing. Is there any other questions or comments on this public hearing? All right, I will close the public hearing. I would need a motion.
We're going to continue the public hearing.
Oh, okay. I would need a motion then to lay over the public hearing till September 16th. We don't need that?
You got the power, baby.
Whoa, I better take and run with that. Commissioner Boyle, did you have anything else?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Then the public hearing will be next week. Next, we have committees. The first is Finance Committee. Commissioner Duda, please.
As presented.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of resolution setting preliminary tax rates for miscellaneous subdivisions as provided by Nebraska Revenue Statute 77-3443. Again, Joe, could you please take this?
Yeah, this is something that we do. This is just a preliminary tax rate that we set for the subdivisions, the fire districts, for the building commission, for Metropolitan Transit, and so we do this on a preliminary basis, and then we come back in mid to late October and do the final amounts, and most of the time there'll be a variation. I think a couple of these fire divisions may be impacted also by the annexation, but like I say, these are preliminary rates, so we're recommending that these be approved today.
Do I have a motion, please? Commissioner Duda?
I'll second, but I do have a question.
Go ahead.
I always look at the fire departments. I like to compare them, but why is Ralston going to zero on their general tax rate for their fire department? Is that being incorporated into the city's budget, or what's going on there? Do we know?
I looked at that, and that was my assumption. I think they've done, wasn't that where they switched from a volunteer fire department and they went?
I think that's right.
And so so I think that's the case, Commissioner Duda, because they submitted a zero amount.
Okay, I'm not aware that Ralston's gone to paid, but I'm just kind of curious to see it going from 4 cents to zero. So, okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Please vote.
Commissioner Boyle?
Sorry. Thought it was there.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Commissioner Kraft?
And Joe, would you contact Ralston to verify that they intended to submit zero?
Yeah, like I say, these are preliminary, so we'll definitely do that.
Thank you.
Thank
Might be
you.
quite a surprise for him.
Next, we have Human Resources Committee. We have the weekly personnel report from Civil Service as presented. Next, we have the weekly CAO report on staff assaults. Patrick?
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Next, we have legislative issues. Marcos?
He had to leave.
He had to leave? Okay, I would say as presented. We do not, and again, do not need a need for executive sessions, so I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Please vote.
Commissioner Kraft?
You must have stayed here. I just want to hear in my notes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, nice job. I just want to say that.
Majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.